Hi and welcome to this China Petals how-to video for the Ashmolean Flower Coaster Kit. So this video is intended to complement the written instructions included in the kit, and some of the processes may have been sped up for time purposes. What I recommend is that you watch, pause and rewind if you need to. Hope you enjoy making this kit. I think it's lots of fun. Start by emptying the bag of tiles onto a small tray or into the kit box. Make sure you check the corners of the bag just in case any tiles get stuck in there. On the shape, you will see there has been a circle etched onto it in the middle, and that's an important guide that we need to use. So first tile you stick down is one of the round, shiny, iridescent white tiles, and stick that in the middle. Then you need 15 of the long white petals, and they go round the outside but with the points touching the etched circle, not the actual bead itself but the etched circle. And it's quite important that you put those precisely down, because if you don't, when you come to the outside border, the border won't fit on. So stick those down. There's 15 of them, so they don't go opposite the petals, but what I suggest you do, rather than stick them down straight away like I'm doing here, is actually place them down dry and then get the spacing, and then once you're happy with the spacing, then start sticking the tiles down. You do have about 15 minutes grab time with these tiles and the glue, but it's probably easier to get them right if you can to start off with. Because the long white petals are quite large, I prefer to put the glue on the back of the petal rather than on the shape itself. I'll sped the next bit of the process up a little bit, but you take your time and place the tiles nicely even spaced. So here I am placing the tiles down dry, getting the spacing right. It would have been easier if I did this at the beginning, then I wouldn't have to move around the ones I'd already stuck down. But once I was happy with how the things were going to be spaced, then I stuck the petals down one by one to get the complete flower. Use a little nudging stick or your fingers just to move them around a bit to get the placement right. And you say you've got about 15 minutes until you're happy. The next bit is the border. You'll see the tiles will come on a sheet of netting, and all you need to do is pull them off. It should be quite easy to do, but sometimes the glue is a little bit tough, so it may need a little bit more force, or even you can cut them off with a pair of scissors and leave the netting on the back. Just don't use your best dressmaking scissors to do that bit. So you need to place 9 of the square tiles across each side. So what I've done here is I've put my first tile down. Sometimes you can put the last tile down on the row and then space out the rest of the tiles evenly, and on this occasion I've actually put the glue on the actual shape itself. I think you need to probably put a little bit more glue down than what I've done here, because the tiles are porous and obviously it'll suck up the moisture from the glue, so you can afford to be a little bit more generous with the glue to make sure they stick down. Here you see here, so I just need a little bit more glue to make sure that they stick down. So you go around all 4 edges, 9 on each edge. So I'm just evening out the spaces here using the little nudging stick, make sure they've got them in the right place, because they don't want to be over the side, they want to be on the edge. And then what I've done is I've just sped up the next few sides, pulling off the tiles as and when I need them, and just checking the spacing, making sure you've got enough glue down. And you can see here why it's important that the petal shapes are placed in the right place, because you might not get the edge square tile in the right place if the petals are a bit further apart. Yep, last side now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and of course number 9's already on there. So just press them down, make sure that you've pressed them down into the glue so they attach themselves to the MDF backing before you then go on to the next stage. So the next stage is the little tiny petal shapes, which we're going to use to fill in the corners. So what I do with these ones is I put like an L shape of glue onto the corner, and then put 2 petal shapes in, points towards the corner, just to fill in those gaps. And make sure you press them down into the glue to make sure they stick to the backing. And there we are, one coaster done. And follow the same procedure for the second coaster. Grouting day. I recommend you grout both coasters at the same time. So the glue's been drying overnight, so it's now time to grout. You'll need your pair of gloves, the grout powder, the mixing stick, a mixing pot, something like a yogurt pot, the little pointy stick you used yesterday, and something to cover the work surface, and some water with a teaspoon. Start by pouring half of the grout into the mixing pot. Just be careful because it is powder and you don't want it to puff up. So half is in there, and then I add 3 teaspoons worth of water. It's not enough water at this stage, but I like to mix my grout a bit at a time because then I have more control over its consistency. So I've added in 3 teaspoons using the mixing stick. Just very gently start bringing it together. I've sped it up a little bit here just to stop it from being boring, and add a little bit more water, and then I go along adding grout and water until I get to a nice consistency, a bit like cream cheese, peanut butter, toothpaste, that sort of consistency. So it's not too sloppy. So just keep on mixing. Yeah, you see it's be careful, this is why you need to cover your work surface. And then I let it slake for just a minute or so to allow the chemicals in the grout just to start their magic. And then I'll just take half of the mixture and put it on one of the coasters, making sure that I'm squishing down into all the gaps with that mixing stick. And then I get my fingers in and go around the edges, making sure that everything's got a nice generous covering of grout and it's squished into all the gaps. You don't want any gaps. So go around all 4 sides, making sure that you've got everything covered, pressing down as you go. So these tiles are quite porous, so they will start sucking up the moisture from your grout mixture. There we are, that's the last side I think. And then I'm going to leave a generous amount on the top at this stage. And then I'm going to grout the second one as well at the same time. So there we are. And then once they're all grouted, I'm just going to let them sit for 15 minutes. I'll check after 10 to see how dry it looks. And then I'm just going to wipe off my gloves here with an old rag, because I want to put them on again later. So that's 15 minutes or so, and yeah, the grout looks like it's started to go off. starting to cure. So I'm just, with my gloved hand, I'm just going to try and take off as much as I can from the tops of the tiles. You don't want to take the grout off too soon because you don't want to wipe off what's in between the gaps in the negative spaces. So here we are, I'm just trying to rub off what's on the top with my hand, and then I'm going to use the little wooden stick, the little orange stick, to help then remove the remaining bits of grout. Don't rush this bit. This bit is quite nice and therapeutic. So yes, so you're trying to take the grout from the tops of the tiles, not from in between the tiles. So yeah, just take your time, enjoy the process. I find it very relaxing to do this bit. So I've sped this up a little bit, but you can get the general idea is that you're taking off the grout from the tops of the tiles. I say digging out the pretty tiles underneath, but making sure that you're actually not digging out the grout from the spaces, because this lovely blue grout is part of the pattern, so you don't want to dig it out of the sides or in between the tiles. So yeah, I'm just going around the sides there, getting rid of any excess grout on there. So it's still wet at this stage, it's not dry, but you can see just digging it out is quite enjoyable. And give it a wipe over. Just be conscious of your other coaster that's sitting there drying. The longer you take on your first coaster, the more dry the grout will be on the next coaster, so it could be harder to remove. And then there's the second one, all done. So obviously you've got a lot of powdered mess there, so I just wrap it up really carefully into the kitchen towel or newspaper or whatever you're using, and there we are. So that's the grouting done. So they need to sit for another 24 hours for the grout to cure, and then you can use them. So after 24 hours, give your coasters a buff with a soft cloth just to bring it up to a shine, and then they are ready to use. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed making your flower coasters and enjoy using them. Until next time, happy mosaicing!